Hey y'all, it's Donna. It has been a really long time since I've made a video, but this Blake Lively thing, Justin Baldoni, it's been a much needed distraction for me, and I see that everybody else is into it, so I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll just start with a little review, because I watched that movie before all of the drama started, and I immediately, there were some things that I didn't like, so it made sense once it came out eventually that there was some struggle with whose cut was going to be placed forward. So I found this review, and she put this together, this Nika channel, so beautifully, so much more articulate than I can do it. So I should just overlay her version with my opinion, but I don't know. Anyway, you can go check that out. So it starts with this funeral scene, and immediately I'm thinking, how freaking selfish is this girl? Okay, you've got some trauma, you've got some problems, with your daddy issues, all that stuff. But he's dead now. And you go to the funeral, you tell your mom you're going to go speak, you're going to write these 5 things, and then you get up there knowing you have nothing prepared. And then just decide, screw it. He's not worth my time, even in death. Okay, but, what about all these other people? What about your mom? It just immediately, I couldn't relate to this character. I couldn't warm up to her. Her style threw me for a loop, too. It looks like patent leather. What is this choice in outfit you wore? But that, I'm not going to judge you for that. That's just clothes. But, yeah, a lot of people have trauma growing up. A lot of people have to forgive their parents for things. They still love them. And so, just say you can't speak. I don't know. I just don't know why they felt like they needed to use this way to express that she has daddy issues. We get it. We know she has daddy issues. You could have expressed that in a more nuanced way, I guess. Then we get to the rooftop scene, where Ryle is immediately, showing aggression. He gets angry, okay? And this scene felt really long. That was my first thought. It wasn't even a meet cute, because it made me not like him also. So immediately, the main characters, I can't relate to. This guy thinks he's yeah, I can just pull you in and it works every time, and I tell the women, all I want is sex. It's just corny. I don't know. It just came across as Ryan Reynolds wrote it, I guess. I don't know. And so she's not that type of girl, but right now she just doesn't give a F, I guess. And so she's going to maybe allow it to work. I don't know. The scene just wasn't doing it for me. So the whole meet, and then we get into the abuse. And that's where it took a turn, because I was immediately confused. I was when he burned his hand, it looked like an accident. He threw his hand back and he accidentally hit her. Oh my gosh. But she's acting weird about it, and she's acting like it wasn't an accident. So I'm I don't know if this abuse is just him getting so angry. Is that what she's calling abuse? And then eventually you realize, oh, this is the lie she's been telling herself to make herself stay, which would have been really creative and interesting. They could have played into that, because that happens in real life, But then you don't get the nuances and the gravity of how that really plays out, and you don't get to feel the emotion in it, because they rip it from you so fast. As soon as you figure out that's what she's doing, she's just deceiving herself, she just immediately leaves once she's oh, wait a second, he's actually hitting me, I don't mean to laugh. It's just so silly, because it seems like any one of us can make a better film portraying this. Because in real life, once a woman finally stops lying to herself, it takes a long time to leave. There's statistics. I probably should have looked it up. Survivors have talked about this. A woman will leave many, many times, call the police, they get back together, she's thinking he's going to change, it just goes on, and it's really heartbreaking, and oh my goodness, they just missed the opportunity to show all that. That's what I couldn't get. I'm even people that haven't been through this have seen it, have had people affected by that, and know how hard it must be. But again, she's just like, wait a second, hey, don't you know he's like biting me and stuff, so I'm pretty sure that's abuse, and I'm literally done. Just like that, I just snap my fingers and I'm done. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's like so unrealistic. And then there's Atlas, the long lost love, who, you know, connects with her in a way. They both experienced these things growing up. They both made a conscious decision as adults to not be that way. And you would expect them to end up together, honestly. But it's like, okay, you know, nowadays movies always try to end differently and try to like keep you guessing. So it's like maybe they won't end up together, but I don't know. I expected them to hook up something. Is that crazy? I expected there to be something. And then I thought, well, maybe they don't want it to appear like she's actually doing something wrong, that to not deserve it, but I mean like to be causing this inflammation and reactions from him. Also, why is Atlas doing things constantly to put her in danger? Why is he doing that? Why is he going into the bathroom? Why is he putting little notes in the back of her phone? I don't know, you would just think there would be another way he could try to get through to her, you know. And don't get me wrong, when I say hook up, I'm not saying she should have been like having a fling and cheating on Ryle with Atlas. I would have expected like her to try to leave and like to fall into Atlas's arms. You know what I mean? As he's like her safety. And so not necessarily like hook up like you're just hooking up. It would be like a very intense emotional connection. Like he's the love of her life. Which, by the way, that intensity, that connection was missing from both of these men, Atlas and Ryle. Like I didn't feel like her and Ryle, like it showed them together laughing and stuff sometimes and, you know, hugging and doing things, but I don't know, you didn't feel like they were in love. Like she was having a hard time to leave and she loved this man so much. You didn't feel it with Atlas either. And I don't know what necessarily they missed. I think it was the like push and pull, like crying yourself to sleep, trying to leave. You know, they missed the mark. So I don't know. I'm not a filmmaker, but they missed the mark. Like you didn't feel that emotion and that intensity with either man, with either relationship. Which that reminds me, her and Ryle laughing together. That first time he hits her, it's so unexpected. Like there was no bickering, there was nothing prior that was also very unrealistic. That's not how you lead up to this kind of abuse. So I feel like, I don't know, it came from the perspective of people that are just like imagining what it would look like in real life, that have never talked to anybody, like known anybody, nothing. Jenny Slate actually, in my opinion, gave a really good performance. Like the scene where they're sitting across from each other and she's crying and explaining what happened with Ryle. Like that made me tear up. She really sold that because like I'm feeling bad for Ryle. Like my goodness, like he just can't get a handle on this. Like this has ruined his whole life and it's really sad. And then where she just decides, okay, it ends with us. She has her baby and she's like petting his face like, guess what? You're out of the picture now and you're going to be okay with that, right? And he's like, yep. I don't know. That was a little weird too, because it's like if he's going to take steps to change and be a better man, which I know, I also heard another statistic, I don't know, that men who abuse, once they realize it and actually are trying to get better, they do better in that next relationship. So the lack of like love entanglement that I expected, like they show the past, they show that her and Atlas had a connection when they were younger and drifted apart, but if there would have been something more after that, like there could have been another movie. They're talking about like a prequel, like it starts with us, but I don't know how they could do anything prior to that, because this like sets the whole scene up unless you're going to do the young Lily. I don't know. That just seems like the better idea would be what happens next. Does Raul go to therapy and change his whole life? And does he, you know what I mean? Do they like fall back in love? I don't know. Does she end up with Atlas? I don't know. They're just the lack of nuance and the missed opportunity to pull you in emotionally kind of, like, I don't know, it kind of messes up any chance for another movie, in my opinion. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. Y'all have a blessed day. And hey, I'll talk about the case if y'all want.